Welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's podcast is all about fitness journeys and transforming and the mental psyche that comes with it along the way. One of the things that I thought was very intriguing when I have thought about all the patients that I've worked on over the years is their progression, whether they're getting ready for a marathon or a triathlon or any of these hybrid fitness events. And for me now, getting ready for my first men's physique, the body transformation that I'm undergoing with regards to the bulking process. And the interesting thing about it is how it affects your confidence and your own individual perception. One of the things that I always think is funny is that I have always been my toughest critic and my biggest fan with regards to, how hard I work and doing stuff. And this journey is quite unique because it's funny to see how people see you and, asking what you're doing, what's your body weight, what's going on, why are you eating so much? And at the same time, it's a job. I have 3 companies, plus social media, plus my podcast, and I am eating all day long. I spend 3 days a week doing food prep. And, why is this relevant? Because it's not about gaining weight. It's not about changing my body. It's about discipline. It's about saying I'm going to do something and executing it. This story started in an entirely different world not so long ago. And I promised myself that I would get this done. And now it's something I'm doing for me. And I have to say that a lot of times I've talked about the podcast about making dreams so big that you can't achieve them. But this is something that I just lined up with a show prep coach, which is basically the person that they are gearing up or gearing down your food, and they're lining up your proteins and your carbohydrates and your fat intake to make sure your body is transforming to get you ready for whatever the anticipated stage date is. So it's getting exciting now. Now it's getting close. Once we hit January, I have January, February, March, April, and it's go time. And, I guess the funny thing about it is in high school and college and beyond that, any sports I've played or prepped my athletes for, the downtime, you didn't have this much time to prepare. So it gets in your head a lot. And it's also something that requires a ton of discipline because it's easy to fall off. One of the things that I'm looking forward to in January is attending, Andy Elliott's, coaching event. But more importantly, it's going to be dry January entirely for me up until the show, so going out and social and all those kind of things, absolutely no alcohol at all. And, it's funny. We talk about this all the time among my friends that are fit, that they're like, you still look great and you drink in moderation, et cetera. And, I'm looking forward to raising the bar a little bit in commitment. I was just talking to a good buddy that I grew up with, and Ben is probably one of the most disciplined, hardworking athletes, that not that he played a high level of sports, but his individual determination to be his personal and physical best is unmatched. I mean, if a kid with talent that was, a 6'4", average body kid that had ridiculous talent had his work ethic, whatever sport they go in, they'll be an all-time best because that's what it takes. And we were talking about it saying, being from the same cloth, but the reality is that, it's that discipline when you get to the end of a workout or a work day and there's 3 or 4 more things to get done. Average doesn't do it. They don't go finish the cardio. They don't go do abs. The average worker doesn't get their notes done or make those calls. And then yet they complain why they're average. And, I'm thankful to have friends like that because it reminded me today when I was tired after training the main workout today, which was training my back. I got to the front of the gym and almost snuck out. I was like, I got to do my mobility and I got to do abs. And, and in that time, I had the opportunity to, I'm a conversationalist. I love speaking to people. I met a young man that's attending the Duke physical therapy program right now, and another young man that's going into the police academy. And it was neat to see when, of course, they were like, and you're 50, and as my son, it was about to be 20, walks past me. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, I want to be that inspiration for people. It's not necessarily so much what I do for myself because I expect it from myself. And I tell people when they say, but you're healthy, you've never had issues, my to-do list to get my body moving in the morning is longer than most people's week list of banking and this and that. Like, it takes a lot to keep me going from, all the stuff I've had over the years, from the, sports injuries and arthritis and, ligament tears and fractures and, and not to mention being paralyzed as a kid with GBS. So again, I look at it, whether it's my fourth decade going now, it's my fifth decade. I want to be my absolute best. I want to challenge myself to say, my 50s, I was blown away. I pushed the envelope and I did everything I wanted to do and then some. And the one thing is that I realize is one of the best wisdom builders is pain. And what I mean by that is when you do stuff that's constantly hurting you, a wise man is learning from it and modifying and adjusting what they do to be able to achieve the primary objective and minimize the pain. I mean, obviously there's necessary things that are going to happen, whether it's, business, life, emotional, or physical pains. But the reality is if we don't learn from these, then what's really the point, And, so like I said, I think the big part of what I'm focusing on right now is just being super consistent, up until the 31st, I made a post yesterday that here I am food prepping as I'm buying, Christmas Day dinner. And, then I started thinking, maybe I'm going to take off. And then I chuckled, like, good luck with that. Right. Because that's easy. And who wants to take the easy way out? I think there's so many people that I run into that are like, I'm going to start next month, the next week, next year. And they give me a list of reasons. And I'm always intrigued by that because I'm like, you know what? You're only 30 once. You're only 20 once. You're only 40 once. You're only 50 once. I want to reflect on this 10 years from now and say, I didn't waste this year. I learned how to manage any of the issues I had as far as, physical aches and pains beyond just normal aging. And utilizing technology that I have, the amazing technology I have that I use in my practice and my patients all the time. And the funny thing about it is when I talk to, my peers and colleagues and doctors I work with, orthopedics, pain management, spine, et cetera, they're like, you're working out so hard. How are you recovering? And I love that. I love teaching them about the technology and science I'm using because they genuinely just don't know. And I run into a guy quite often at Lifetime, and he's my age actually, and he's always like, it's so unfair. You're constantly on these recovery devices, and I'm like, you know what? When I got hurt in my mid 40s, and that lasted for months that turned into years, I looked at that like a prison sentence, and I never want to go back to that jail. And there was nothing that was more of a teacher than the pain that I experienced and everything that came with it during that time. The reality is for this next couple months, I have, went and doubled down with regards to tapping into Andy Elliott and, that elitist mindset with regards to physical fitness and all of the components and his 10 commandments, because, I need to have, someone that's even more, crazed than me because I've never been down this path before. And I think that anything you do, if you want to be great, you could have the natural physical attributes, but if you have somebody that's been down that route or is even mentally tougher than you, why wouldn't you tap into them so that you can keep going, go even further than whatever expectations you may have set for yourself? So again, I think the takeaway from today is all these extra calories, all the water I'm drinking, all the supplements I'm taking. Again, it is part of the process. It's helping me be a better, coach on my national coaching platform that's launched a few years ago. It's making me a better practitioner. I believe that when I'm resonating with my son and daughter, they know my discipline with regards to, protein shakes in the morning, protein shakes at night, real food all day long. My refrigerator, which is like sacred ground with regards to don't go near it, don't touch my food. But I think down the road, they're seeing that, hey, dad eats greens with almost every meal. Wow, dad drinks a ton of water. Wow, dad takes branched chain amino acids and vitamins. And it's not just about the physique part. It's about taking care of yourself. I'm doing this because I want to be the best version of myself. And I think that when you have experienced both sides, I think that the dichotomy between being hurt and feeling defeated and depressed, and then feeling like you're getting in the best shape you've been in decades, those are polar opposites. And I think it's empowering to many to keep sharing that. I'm looking forward to, because I'm going to do a mini reel or podcast with the prep team that I'm going to use, because it's part of my journey. I don't know what I'm doing there. And I think one of the biggest things is acknowledging your weaknesses or where you need help, because I've worked, well over a year now in putting on 30 pounds and the discipline and the cardio and managing the injuries and learning the techniques. And now my next, phase of this is learning stage presence and how to move and how to pose and do all these things that I'm uncomfortable with, but the reality is you grow by being comfortable with, or really saying, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, I think along the years, I was always okay with being, fit with like Gen Pop. But the reality is now I'm competing against, the top percentile, and, I embrace it. I look at it like, my clinical practice. I didn't want to be average. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be listed in the Power 5 of the county or state. And, I took on this challenge to keep me competing so that individually I stay sharp, so that to my team, to my patients, to the practices that I'm coaching, that sharpness resonates, that I'm constantly on, I'm constantly, executing and doing what I say that I'm going to do. So again, when we look at why I'm preparing, what the diet is for, what's this all about? Because my friends have known me for 20, 30 years. Are like, why are you doing this? You looked great already. I mean, your summer body was, ridiculous. And I said, I want to push the envelope. When I was training kids and I was on the basketball court, I pushed the envelope for them, and I was pretty selfless with that. I was getting a ton of work in, and yes, I was in great shape, a different kind of shape, but great shape. But it was all about them. I wanted to see them be elite. I wanted to see them to be their best. This is something that I want to be able to show as part of my business resume, that I was building back Velocity Performance. I was launching a new company. I was coaching on a national scale. I was working with a, laser and medical technology company. And I was doing all these things while cooking my own food and balancing my time with my family, to show people, if you want it bad enough, you're going to make time, not excuses. So, as we're closing out the end of the year, I was, like I said, today I was at Iron Revolution, and, it's an impressive population of young kids. I think on average, I'm probably 25 years to 30 years older than most of them. And the unique thing about it is these kids, I ran into a pro today that was, had wisdom beyond his years. And I had said, what's next? I want to bring you on the podcast. And the first conversation, I think he was kind of measuring me. And then he had checked with one of his friends who had a nice relationship, fine young man, mom at the university grad, super sharp kid, and happens to be his best friend. And he was super complimentary, saying that, we're best friends since they were in fourth grade or 4 years old, one of those, and that he's going to be his best man at his wedding in the near future. And I said to myself, what's your vision? What do you see yourself with this bodybuilding thing? And he abruptly said, in the second round we were speaking, I'm done with that. I want to coach. I want to transform bodies. I don't see a long-term career with that. I think it's dangerous. And I want to pursue other things with the opportunities and doors that it's opened up with me for this. And I was like, a light bulb went off. And that's exactly what I was thinking with regards to doing this physique challenge. Is it's opening doors. It's meeting new people. It's getting out there. It's putting yourself in a room full of people you've never met before. And it could create an opportunity for a business you never thought you'd be a part of that could be where you make more money than you've made in your entire life. So, again, getting out there and being, comfortable with being uncomfortable is something that I'm looking at as, growth, 3.0 JOC, because, I've always felt like I've kind of put myself in the evolve evolution mode, but this year was kind of a monumental year being 50 because, I think that a lot of people, and I hear people say it all the time, well, don't you think this is downtime? I sat with a friend last night that was amazing. He had a friend that recently got sick. He's a few years older than me. He's always kept himself in great shape. And he said to me, and, he just got a really nice car and I guess got a weird report from one of his docs. And he's like, I don't care about money anymore. I just care about waking up in the morning. I just care about living. And, I wasn't going to contradict or say anything. I just was intrigued because I was like, I feel like I have so much more in me. I feel like I could have this energy from 50 to 60 and 60 to 70. Obviously I may not move as fast, but when I look at, Robert Kennedy or any of these other guys that are ridiculous doing, 20 pull-ups on Instagram, I'm like, I want to be that guy. I want to be a guy that like, who's that silverback crushing it, And I think that's something that requires that discipline that I started a few years ago, building myself back from the brink of, burnout and physical collapse. And I never want to go back to that place again. So again, today's podcast is all about why you create goals and why discipline is critical more so than anything else. It's not going on a diet, but it's the discipline that it takes to execute the diet. It's not, signing up for a marathon. It's the discipline to get up when it's 10 degrees out or 35 degrees and raining to get the job done. So, keep going, keep moving forward. I hope this video today or, this podcast today inspires you. To me, the way we grow is by sharing these and liking them and commenting. So please, if you find value in it, definitely like it, share it, and comment. God bless. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.